Some of you are overthinking your home decor, and it's definitely showing. For a lot of people, and even myself included, when you are someone who just enjoys your home and enjoys decorating your home, sometimes we can fall victim to the idea that everything should match and everything should really feel like it all fits together nicely. And while in theory this does make sense, often it can actually leave your home feeling quite stark and lifeless, almost like you're living in a very staged space. And trust me, I've been there. Once you go down this rabbit hole of making sure everything just looks so prim and proper in your space, it can be so challenging when you're out shopping and you see that one kind of funky item that you would love to incorporate, but you just haven't given yourself any flexibility in your home decor to be able to add it in. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about some of my tips when it comes to just letting go in your home decor. I'm hopeful that these tips are going to allow you to visualize your space a little bit more out of the box and just give you so much more freedom and flexibility when it actually comes to decorating your space how you want it. The biggest mistake that I see being made with people who set really strict design parameters for themselves is they fall down the neutral rabbit hole where everything is either in the same shade of cream or beige. And truthfully, it is just so easy for this to happen. When you start selecting items for your space, you really do ask yourself, should I just match everything and make it easier for myself? Or you kind of have that fear of not wanting to go too bold, just playing it safe and picking everything in the same neutral color can be an easy way to go, but you're not doing yourself any favors when you finally get up the courage to introduce one item of color in your space. It really is going to stick out like a sore thumb. So if you find yourself living in just a very neutral white box of a home, my first recommendation would just be by swapping out very small items. You want to look for just very inexpensive and minor details in your home that you currently are incorporating in a neutral tone that you could swap for something of either a color or a pattern or just something that is actually going to stand out and make a little bit more of a statement. So with my game show host Mike, I thought it would be fun to do another little exercise of how this could work in your space. Okay, so here is our first living room image. As you can see, this is a room that really is all the same shade of beige. So for me, when I look at this space, I actually find it is a great blank canvas to be adding some of these small tweaks in. The very first thing that really sticks out to me is actually the coffee table. Just like the rest of the room, this space is feeling very bland and boring. Although there's lots of accessories and little things going on the coffee table, I don't find any of them to really be adding to the visual interest of the space. So this is one area that's just super easy to be adding your personality and personal trinkets into. I think a bold pop of color in something like a vase would be great. Also, maybe some funkier coffee table books. These do not have to match the rest of your space. This is just a very simple area to be adding a bold pop of color or a pattern. I also love the idea of adding some funky trays, even kind of a dish with some matchbooks in it can be fun. And often the best way to go when it comes to decorating your coffee table is just adding items that you currently own and that you don't actually have to go out and repurchase. From there, you could take inspiration from the colors that you've used in decorating the coffee table, and you could pull from this when it comes to adding some other pops of interest in the toss pillows in the space. Again, because the furniture is just so simple and neutral, this is going to be a great jumping off point when you want to add a bolder pop of color. My personal preference when it comes to a matching pair of armchairs is to actually add a little bit more of a pattern pillow on them. It's already kind of fun to have two matching chairs, and to kind of pizzazz them up a little bit more with a pattern is a great way to go. I love the look of adding more of a floral pattern on the chairs and then balancing that out with just a nice simple green on the toss cushions of the couch. And then if you wanted to take it just that extra step further, you could swap out the two lamps next to the window. Again, this is going to carry through some more of that kind of pattern throughout the space, and it really ties back into some of the rest of the styling. It's allowing you to have a few different colors in the space that you could then pull from if you wanted to take it a little bit further. Our next boring beige contestant is this bedroom here. Again, it is just very bland and one-dimensional. What I would say right off the hop here, if we were just to make very simple tweaks initially, it's going to be swapping out the color of the draperies in the room. And because there's so many drapes in the space, having this bolder, darker color is actually giving us almost the feeling of having a painted wall in this shade without having to fully commit to that in the room. And now that we actually can see a color in the space, it doesn't feel like such a big jump if we wanted to also incorporate some color on the bed. And I know a lot of people are probably thinking, surely she's going to be adding more green to the bed, but in fact, we're going to be doing the opposite. When you overcommit to one particular accent shade in a very neutral space, this can actually really pop out like a sore thumb, and it's not going to give you that nice subtle layering that using multiple colors is actually going to achieve. So for the pillows, I think it would actually be fun to incorporate a little bit more of a yellow and maybe a red. And because we went with a solid color on the draperies, I would do both of these in a fun pattern. And one more small tweak that would really just elevate this space further would actually be by swapping out the lamps on either nightstand. I've added these kind of modern chrome table lamps. I think they work so well to balance the other styles that are in this space. It's giving it just a very modern and fresh take, and it's kind of actively defying the idea that everything in this bedroom has to match. Okay, so maybe you're digesting the idea of making those small tweaks and changes, but you're ready to take it a step further. What I would recommend as your next course of action is implementing the idea of having one wild card per room. You might be familiar with the pop of red theory that's been trending lately. This is the concept of adding just a fun, playful pop of red to either your outfit or your home decor, and introducing a wild card in your space is going to have a very similar effect. This could be by adding a funky piece of artwork, a fun pattern on something like your armchair, or even just a very bold area rug. This can really help your space to feel a little bit more fun and a little less stuffy. So let's see how this would work in a room if we swap in just one wildcard item and see what a transformation it could make in the space. And what do you know? Another boring beige living room. I'm not gonna lie, in theory, this room isn't so bad if it weren't for the ottoman in the space also matching all of the other furniture. To me, this is clearly the item that should be swapped out for a wildcard piece instead. Ta-da! It's virtually the same room, but it is crazy how you can swap in this one very funky kind of patterned piece, and all of a sudden the rest of the room just looks so different. And while everything works perfectly with this one wildcard item, this bold piece could really be the item that you pull inspiration from for the rest of the room. You could then add some fun yellow toss cushions on the sofa. You could maybe go for a bit of a blush drapery on the wall. And before you know it, your boring beige living room is completely transformed into something that has so much more character and life. Next up is this dining room, and I think we can all agree that the one item in this space that has to change is the chandelier. On top of all the other shades of cream going on in this room, we just had to go back in and add more to the light fixture. I will say there is a nice painting going on over the fireplace. This is what I'm actually going to be drawing inspiration from. I think it would be really fun to add a bold pop of green on the light fixture instead. And while overall the room still feels very light and neutral, this pop of green just ties in so well with that painting. And again, this could be your jumping off point if you wanted to add something like a green area rug, or if you wanted to add just a little bit more color or pattern. You at least would feel like you're not stepping so far away from the very neutral space it was before. Okay, this living room is absolutely screaming for a pattern. So right off the hop, I would do away with that boucle fabric. I just do not think that is helping the space in any way. And instead, let's go for a funky patterned armchair. This one is so cute, and I do love that kind of the root color of the chair is still that creamy beige shade. So it still ties in with the rest of the room, but it's actually incorporating a little bit more of a pattern and some additional colors in the space. I would contrast this a little bit further when it comes to the artwork. I wouldn't try and match these shades. I think a fun pop of something like a yellow piece would be great in this space. And then from there, you could echo an additional color onto the sofa. Overall, this doesn't feel like it's going that far away from the original image, but it still feels like there's just a little bit more character in the room. Another common theme that I find with people who have just a very staged feeling home is often their furniture looks great, but it's not comfortable. For so many of us, we're always chasing the aesthetic of what we want our home to look like, but we're not being as thoughtful and thorough when it actually comes to the comfort and feeling of each piece. So our next swap is going to be taking out those very stiff and staged pieces of furniture for something that's a little bit more relaxed and comfortable. I absolutely hate this living room. I just know that none of these pieces of furniture are comfortable at all to sit in. I also feel like if you were at a dinner party in this room and you're sitting around with a glass of wine talking to people, you would feel just very uptight in this space and not like you could relax and loosen up at all. The very first thing I would get rid of, again, immediately are these boucle chairs. This fabric is just not it, and the shape and color of these chairs, it's really just not adding to the look of the room at all. Instead, what I think would be really fun here is actually a little bit more of a chaise lounge or a daybed bench. This, I feel like when you're in the room, you could actually lay down on, you could read a book. I think the other side of this living room is likely a dining room. So having a bench in this area is also going to allow you to sit and face the dining room. So you could have conversations going on either side of that piece of furniture. And then from there, I would get rid of those two cane armchairs and I would replace them with probably one larger kind of lounge piece of furniture. Something like a rolled arm armchair, maybe with a matching ottoman would be a great way to go. This would really allow somebody to sit down in that space, kick their feet up, and truly just relax into the conversation. And we haven't even gone that crazy with any patterns or color. The space is still feeling very neutral, but you can see what a difference having that more relaxed feeling in the space can really add. And another room that I simply just would not want to be a guest in, I would not be able to sit and participate in a dinner party in this dining room. I just know that these chairs are not going to be comfortable to be sitting in longer than like 20 minutes. And overall, this space just feels very matchy and stiff. I think it really is coming down to the dining chairs in this room. So personally, I would swap them out with something that's a little bit larger and upholstered. On the regular, you're probably not going to be seating 6 people all the time at your table. So if you go with a little larger chair in a nice upholstered fabric, this is really going to allow people that are actually sitting in these chairs to relax, get comfortable. You could sit there for hours on end and actually have conversations with your guests, as opposed to having teeny tiny little uncomfortable chairs that nobody really wants to sit in for long periods of time and hold conversation. And because the space is just so neutral and bland, again, I think it would be so fun to add a bold pop of color or a pattern. This would really just ground the space and give it so much more interest. And to bring it on home and incorporate all of these elements together, we can look at this living room here. I think for most people, the easiest thing to do if you were trying to incorporate all of these elements would be to select just one piece that you're going to be essentially basing all of your next steps from. Generally, I recommend this as something that's a little bit more inexpensive and simple. I'm actually going to pull one toss cushion that we could use for the example. And I do think this is pretty common. Most people's point of interest is usually from a piece of art or maybe a small textile like a toss cushion. I like this one because it gives us a few options when it does come to some of the colors we could introduce. So our next really simple swap would be something like a lamp in the room. I think, again, that unexpected pop of red or a burnt orange would be a great way to go. And I think a lot of people at this point would be saying, oh my God, what have I done? I've got this kind of bold pop of red in the corner. I've got this funky kind of pillow on my sofa. Where do I go from here? Drapes. Drapes is where you go from here. This is the one item that really could tie it together. Again, I would select a color from the pillow. Going with this nice kind of soft pastel blue is going to be a great way to go. This really just kind of marries those three elements together, and you almost could leave it at this point, but I do think it would be fun to go a step further, and that would be by incorporating a green on the armchairs. I love that these ones have a lower back. They almost feel just a little bit more casual in the space than the wingback chairs that were previously there. And incorporating a nice blue lumbar pillow is going to tie it in again with our other pillow as well as the drapes. And there's just one more element that's screaming to me a little bit in the space, and it's actually the coffee table. I feel like we could take this room one step further by making this feel just a little bit more comfortable. And before our eyes, we've transformed this dull, lifeless living room into one that's just so much more fun, vibrant, and comfortable. And the best part about making some of these changes is nothing is permanent. Even if you go to make some of these small updates in your space and you feel like you've gone a little bit too far, or it's just not really ringing true to how you want the space to feel, you can always remove an element and try it out with something new. The goal of these exercises really is just to help you break down some of those design boundaries you set up for yourself and actually have fun with your home decor again. Personally, my favorite part when you actually approach your home decor in this way is when you're going out and you're shopping and you actually see something that really speaks to you. You're not kind of scratching your head wondering, how can I make this work in my space? It really is going to help you just let go, enjoy your home, and not take it so seriously. And keep in mind, letting go does not necessarily mean chaos. It just means you're making room for pieces you actually love. So that's everything for this letting go episode. Definitely let me know in the comments what some of your favorite ways to let go in your home are. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.